There are some corners of the universe which have bred the most terrible things. Things which act against everything that we believe in. They must be fought.
It's them. They're coming. Everybody inside, quick!
Okay.
There are some
Earth Control, this is Moonbase. Welcome to the 88th presentation of an Unearthly podcast, streaming live on the 14th of January, 2015, and featuring the Moonbase, written by Kit Pedler. I'm your guest host for the evening, Randy Ronson McCulloch, filling in for Bill Man in Black Silva, who has a bit of a throat bug. He is still with us for the evening.
How's it going?
Also with us is Mad Matt Winchell,
Hello.
Aaron Romeo Moon Burke,
Hello.
and Tim the Enchanter Sheridan.
Tim?
Do we have a Tim?
From control to major.
Oh, hello.
Oh, there
Sorry,
it
my mic was muted.
is.
Okay. So that's our audience, or that's our panel for this evening. Let's see. First of all, we're going to start off with a bit of news. Normally, had he lived this long, it would have been William Hartnell's birthday this week. On the 8th of January, he would have been 108. Unfortunately, of course, Bill died in 1975 at 67, but still, we wish Bill a happy birthday wherever he is.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Happy birthday, Bill.
Happy birthday, Bill. And I want to wish Ranson a happy birthday today, or yesterday, belated.
Yeah, it was a nice little birthday.
Age unknown.
Dun,
Age
dun,
none of your
dun.
business. Age too old, none of your business. But no, it was a good birthday. I got a tablet from my parents, and we sat around, played MMOs, and went out to eat in a Mexican restaurant of my choice. It was a good dinner. Okay, so now moving on to the actual factual news. Things we actually have to report on. For starters, we have the Series 9 update, which we mentioned last week that Series 9 was filming, but we hadn't had that confirmed. It is now confirmed. The episodes currently being filmed are written by Toby Whithouse, who first worked on the series in 2006. He was the writer of School Reunion.
Ooh.
He also wrote Vampires of Venice, The God Complex, and A Town Called Mercy,
So,
as well as an episode of Torchwood.
so the best episode of 7A, a very good episode of 2, a mediocre episode of 5, and I think a mixed opinion episode of 6.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
He's had a very varied history, especially with Moffat.
Not the worst track record.
No.
Not the worst track record. I mean, Vampires of Venice was okay. The God Complex was okay. Not great, but okay. School Reunion was wonderful, and A Town Called Mercy was really the highlight of our reviews
Yeah.
on 7A.
Yeah.
I wish they said which
So-
episode of Torchwood.
I don't know. The article doesn't say, but
As long as it's not Cyberwoman.
Yeah.
That is a fair to good track record, and this time he's doing a two-parter. So apparently somebody agrees with us and let him do what he's referring to as a spooky two-parter.
Ooh.
Greeks Bearing Gifts. For those who watch Torchwood, that's the one with the alien lady that I'm pretty sure has a relationship with Tosh.
Oh, I'm trying to remember for sure.
If I'm at least, unless I'm really misconstruing which episode it is, I'm pretty sure that's the right one.
Also, in this particular filming block, I believe we may have mentioned this last week, joining them in the story is Paul Kaye, who will be playing Thoros of Myr in the third series of Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
Thoros of Myr.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's who he's playing. He's also known for a few odd BBC shows back in the 90s. Known for playing Dennis Pennis, the shock interviewer who ambushed celebrities with bizarre questions. He's also known for being the voice of Vincent the Fox in the puppet-based BBC comedy Mongrels. Also, starring in the episodes will be Morben Christie, who played the role of Amanda in the crime drama Grantchester, and featured in Death in Paradise and 2012. Other guest artists in the story include Archer Alley, who played the part of Malik Suri in the critically acclaimed The Missing, BBC One, and Colin McFarland, who appeared in EastEnders as a part of the Who Killed Lucy Beale storyline. McFarlane provided an alien voice in the 2007 Christmas story Voyage of the Damned, as well as appearing in Torchwood Children of Earth. Actress Sophie Stone also appears in the show for the first time. Stone was the lead actress in the play Women of Flowers and appeared in Midsummer Murders and Casualty. Also confirmed the roles of the double episode are Zachary Ismail, Stephen Robertson, and Neil Fingerton. While filming is continuing in Cardiff, plans are underway for location filming later in the series, with the show heading back to Spain, according to the tweet from director of photography Ali Assad. Last year's episode, Kill the Moon, was filmed on the Spanish island of Lanzarote, as well as the 1984 story Planet of Fire. Spain has also been used for location work for The Two Doctors, Asylum of the Daleks, and A Town Called Mercy.
Mm-hmm.
The series is confirmed to be back in autumn 2015. We suspect in August.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Most likely August. Be prepared. Next.
Alright. Next up in the news, Last Christmas tops Space. Space have reported the Christmas special, Last Christmas, not only ranked as the channel's most popular show over Christmas, but also the highest ranked program on the channel so far this broadcast year. Space, it's a specialty channel.
It's Canadian.
Canadian, okay.
I was thinking it was the Canadian station, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, that's where Doctor Who's been in for Canada. I think it's their equivalent of Sci-Fi or that type of niche channel.
Apparently it drew in an average audience of 792,000 viewers. And was up against the Magical Mary Marathon featuring Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, Harry Potter and Deathly Hallows.
I've never seen Deathly Hallows still. I mean, I've read it, but I've never seen it.
I think that's when it was kind of getting a little meh.
Meh.
Harry Potter kind of got a little meh in the middle.
I'm not the greatest, I'm not the biggest Harry Potter fan. I liked it. I liked it well enough. I have almost all the books, but yeah.
Alright. Well, back to the UK. Final figures now confirm that Doctor Who Last Christmas finished as the 7th most watched program on British television for the week. The episode, which has 8.28 million watching, had a share of 31.6 of the total TV audience. That is almost a third of people watching television in England, well, the UK, was watching Doctor Who. The Boxing Day repeat on BBC Three had a final audience of 0.48 million viewers. That's nearly 500,000, a share of 2% of the total audience. It had an audience appreciation index of 84.
Which is 2 up from the night before's AI, for whatever reason.
So it means that the people that were watching it later gave it a higher rating, and I believe that's one we agree with.
Yeah.
Although we would have actually probably have given it the 85. That was the top of last season.
Thereabouts. Next.
All right. Yeah, it looks like coming up next, we have new Torchwood radio plays planned.
Oops, I didn't know that. No.
Ooh.
Never mind.
According to John Barrowman during a press conference promoting his series Arrow, my sister and I are discussing the possibility of writing one of these plays, and whether or not that leads to something on TV. Barrowman said, though he noted that he is currently full-time on Arrow at the moment, though he has also reiterated that the producers of Arrow have indicated their willingness to allow him to film a Torchwood special if the opportunity ever arises. Remind you that the producers of Arrow are huge Doctor Who fans.
Yes.
His sister, Carol E. Barrowman, has co-written several novels with her brother, including the Torchwood novel Exodus Code. Barrowman says 3 or 4 audio plays are planned. No time frame for production or broadcast was offered by Barrowman, who likewise did not say whether or not other Torchwood cast members, past or recent, will participate, beyond teasing that at least one story will feature the whole Torchwood team.
Which
However,
implies it's probably set sometime during season 2.
Season 1 or 2, yeah. However, he did say that Russell T. Davies and Julie Gardner, producers of Torchwood, and of course former producers of Doctor Who, will be involved. One thing to not note on here, in nowhere is Big Finish mentioned.
Yeah.
I was actually looking for that.
It looks like they mentioned BBC audio dramas, and BBC Audio, which is Audio Go, has sometimes done work with Big Finish, but by and large that work has been inferior to Big Finish's regular broadcasts.
If I recall, the 8th Doctor started off as Big Finish Audio and then got sold off to Big Finish. If they don't take Torchwood back onto TV, I would kind of like to see that happen with Torchwood, but it's kind of, we don't really know where BBC's marketing team stands on that type of issue.
Yeah, we know that Big Finish's contract precludes them from doing any serious new Who projects. They cannot feature audios featuring the 9th, 10th, or 11th Doctors.
Apparently they don't have
Express
they don't have rights to the Master from the TV movie. I found out recently, so they have access to the 8th Doctor himself, but nothing from the movie that they haven't already used.
Really, that's interesting.
That's why the actors that played the companions from that movie have returned, but their characters have not.
Not in that role, not in their roles. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. But yeah, anything that has been done with New Who by Big Finish has been under special contract and has usually been a Big Finish Audio Go co-production.
Yeah.
And as I said, like the Destiny of the Doctors that we did last year, actually 2 years ago now, tended to tended to be worse than their normal monthly Doctor Who items. So
the reason why did you have something else to say?
So it remains to be seen whether or not Big Finish will become involved in this, and whether it's actually going to be a full-on audio drama rather than a partial novelization read, which seems to be what Audio Go prefers to do.
Yeah, that's probably one of the weakest part of the Audio Go things. But I would hope, since we're getting so many people involved, that it'll be a heck of a lot more involved than that, and hopefully be better than the usual Audio Go that we get.
I'm thinking when the 8th Doctor was doing things for BBC Radio before Big Finish got him, it was full audio dramas.
Yes, this does not say for BBC Radio, however. It just says BBC Audio.
Mm-hmm.
other than, well, they do all say radio play, but yeah.
That doesn't really mean much.
Does it say
No, it says BBC Audio, first paragraph, last line. Anyway.
Whether if it was,
it
if
says
it was
BBC and an audio drama is not not BBC capital audio.
Yeah,
so
if it was a radio play, we would hear it, to be planned on BBC Radio 3 or something like that. So,
well, it's not even guaranteed.
I mean, that just might mean that they're not announcing which radio channel yet. It could mean a lot of things. So,
well, it sounds like this is in the early planning stages.
Yeah, we don't even know if this is going to be going to either of those groups to begin with. This could be a third party.
It was. I feel like it was. Barrowman's been reached out to. Hey, the BBC is going to do this. Would you like to be part of it? Sure. And then he turned around, did his Arrow press conference, and it came up.
Maybe, but I wouldn't say that for sure because he doesn't blatantly say that either. Anyway, probably should move on.
Yeah, I don't think we have anything more to say about that.
Yeah. Alright, well, if you're familiar with Netflix, then you'll know that occasionally they'll drop a series or two and then come back and pick it back up. And that's about ready to happen with Doctor Who, Torchwood, Red Dwarf, and several other BBC shows, particularly sci-fi shows. So, yep, Primeval, Survivors. They're about ready to be abandoned by Netflix coming up here.
Blackadder's on the list.
Blackadder, yep. Let me see who else. Yeah, Faulty Towers and Coupling. A bit of Fry and Laurie as well. It seems like, and this is according to GiantFrickinRobot.com on one of their news articles. So apparently, some kind of licensing must be coming due. And hopefully, if they don't, if they do wind up dropping them, they eventually get them back. I know you may be able to find them on Amazon Prime still. These shows, I should say, and these shows might also be available on Hulu Plus. I know that Netflix and Hulu tend to kind of duplicate the same content.
What's actually surprising to me is that Sherlock is not on that list along with Doctor Who. I would have thought they'd be a package.
That it might be. It just might not have gotten mentioned.
Yeah.
It's interesting, and the fact is that this might just mean that one of the other ends of it are trying to negotiate, and that's just taking a bit longer.
Yeah.
I think I was gonna add something now. I can't remember what it was. This is why I need to talk when I need to talk. It's one of those.
Or write it down.
God, it escaped me now. I don't know what I was gonna say. I was gonna say something.
Okay. Actually, I just went to the Blogspot link of the list of expiring things. Apparently, PBS has the distribution rights for Sherlock. So it's not on the BBC expiring list. They don't have to negotiate
Which
on the
means,
BBC.
That's odd. Because I noticed that Downton Abbey wasn't up on Netflix anymore.
And that also might be going through PBS. It's possible. Because I know occasionally PBS will show those things like Downton Abbey and things.
I finally remembered.
Okay, go ahead, Matt.
I've actually been hearing that people have been already starting a signature list to try and coax Netflix to bring back Doctor Who already.
I've seen that
a little earlier.
It's not like Netflix doesn't want Doctor Who, so there's really no need to it. Netflix is trying to get Doctor Who.
Like I said, I think it's a little bit of contract negotiation.
Yeah, it's exactly that.
Their license with BBC Worldwide has come due, and either Netflix is trying to negotiate with the BBC to lower price, or probably more to the point, the BBC is trying to negotiate a higher price, considering that Doctor Who has gotten a lot larger in popularity over the last 2-3 years since Netflix last had this license.
Or if we're really lucky and really optimistic, Netflix is trying to negotiate more classic Who.
Ooh.
Oh, I'd hope
so.
Nice.
That's good.
I'd hope so.
Yes, please, with sugar on top.
I don't know if that's a separate contract license or not, but either way.
I would assume Classic goes hand in hand with Modern Who.
It doesn't.
Yeah, they're separate licenses. Worldwide treats them separately. Anyway.
But they might be trying to get it as a package deal, so.
Anyway, moving on. With the 10th anniversary of Doctor Who approaching in about 2 months now, the Radio Times has been asking its readers, what is the best Doctor Who episode of the modern era? And they have been doing this by season, or by series. And voting for the favorite episode. According at the moment, I believe several Moffat episodes are winning the polls. I know I voted on this earlier. Currently, let me see if I can even vote or take a look at the moment. It's letting me re-vote, but let me look at the results.
You said it is letting you re-vote?
It would let me. I know I voted on this because Bill and I traded what we voted for.
So that might be have something to do with certain things. Certain fans of that have certain episodes that have more obsessive fans might be getting more duplicate votes than other episodes with less obsessive fans.
I just voted again.
Currently winning Series 1 is The Empty Child, Doctor Dances, with 51.31% of the total vote. Followed by Bad Wolf, Parting of the Ways, and then Dalek at number 3. Going down the list, it is Father's Day, Rose, Aliens of London, End of the World, Unquiet Dead, Boomtown, and The Long Game. Somebody has to be being humorous for Aliens of London, World War III to get 2.2% of the vote. Because last I checked, nobody liked farting aliens.
Sarah Jane fans.
Maybe.
Maybe like 3 8-year-olds got on their computer. Series 2, I do believe, last I checked, Girl in the Fireplace was winning the vote. And still is.
Yes.
But this is a lot closer vote with 35.46%. The second runner-up is Army of Ghosts Doomsday at 23.16.
I'll accept that, but that's not what I voted for.
And then The Impossible Planet, The Satan Pit at 15.43.
Which is shocking because from what I've seen on the internet, this seems to be a rather hated episode.
Not what I've seen, but...
The remaining list is School Reunion with 8.86, The Christmas Invasion with 4.85, Rise of the Cybermen Age of Steel with 3.35, Tooth and Claw with 3%, New Earth with 2.5, Love and Monsters with 1.25, Idiots Love and Monsters with 1.25, Idiots Lantern with 1.1%, and Fear Her with 0.93. Somebody's got to be trolling this vote.
Oh, never mind. I just realized the episode I was thinking of was next season. I was wondering why you didn't say it. What did I vote for that season?
Series 3, the vote for Series 3, I'm getting to now. And we're able to go into detail on this because I don't believe we have a second article between the news and the episode tonight.
We got a couple actually yet.
I think there's 50 years of
we've got a
Doctor Who
few
in
more
Australia.
episodes.
No, I didn't say. But we don't have a between news before summary. Yes, the third, the number one vote for the third one is Blink, with 54.49%. This is not surprising to me because it's Blink, and everybody thinks it walks on water. Number 2 is Human Nature, Family of Blood with 15.75. Sound of Drums, Last of the Time Lords with 13%. Followed by The Shakespeare Code with a little over 4.5. Runaway Bride, a little over 4. Utopia with 2.5. Gridlock with 1.7. Daleks in Manhattan with 1.5, Smith and Jones with a little over 1, 42 also with a little over 1, and the Lazarus Experiment with under half a percent.
And I will state the numbers for season 4 since I'm already there and I voted. Number 1 is Science in the Library, Forest of the Dead at 35.55%. Second place is Stolen Earth, Journey's End at 23%. Midnight at 11%. Turn Left at 7%. Doctor's Daughter 5%. Partners in Crime 3%. Fires of Pompeii 3%. Unicorn and the Wasp 3%. Planet of the Ood 2%. Voyage of the Damned 1%. And the Santarum Stratagem and Poison Sky under 1%.
Alright, well, continuing with Season 4 for the specials, the best story from the 2008 to 2010 specials, and Aaron is going to hate this, with 64.66% of the total vote in, The End of Time Part 1, Part 2 is currently winning.
Okay.
Followed with Waters of Mars with 22.77%, The Next Doctor at 7.16%, and Planet of the Dead with 5.41%.
I voted for the Next Doctor on that one, even though I don't like any of them, but...
It was a very silly series of specials.
Yeah.
We then go on to Matt Smith's first series, Series 5. Anybody have that up? Because if not, I'll have it up in a moment.
I have it right here. Alright, so in our number 1 spot was Vincent and the Doctor at 41.4%.
Damn, I was hoping the populace would have had better, had a come around of sense by now.
Go art lovers!
Not art lovers, I just hate the fact that it's a freaking public service announcement episode.
Only the last minute of it.
Yeah.
No,
Alright,
the whole
number
thing
2
is a very
spot.
special blossom.
I don't... Yeah. It would be very special Blossom if Blossom, hadn't managed to kill herself. Then it may have been like a very special Blossom.
Yeah.
Alright, number 2, the Pandorica Opens, The Big Bang. Number 3, The 11th Hour. Number 2 is at 20%. 11th Hour is 12%. Time of the Angels, Flesh and Stone is at 10%. The Lodger is at 7%. Amy's Choice is at 4%. The Beast Below, 1.4%. Vampires of Venice, 1.09%. Victory of the Daleks, 1.05%. And The Hungry Earth Cold Blood is 0.97%.
I've got Series 6 up, so I'll go into that.
Oh, I already had that up too.
Okay. Well, our podcast will be a favor of the top with this, with The Doctor's Wife, with 22.87%.
I just changed that. It's 22.88.
Runner-up is A Good Man Goes to War, 17.1%. Then The Impossible Astronaut, Day of the Moon 2-parter at 11.3%. The Wedding of River Song at 10.7%. The Girl Who Waited at 10%. Let's Kill Hitler at 9.3%. A Christmas Carol at 7.3%. The God Complex at 4.3%. Closing Time at 2.5%. The Rebel Flesh Almost People 2-parter at 2.4%. Night Terrors at 1.2%, and Curse of the Black Spot at 1%.
Can I say
All
7?
Go
Yes,
ahead.
but I get 8.
Okay. I was figuring you would get 8. So, Season 7, number 1 winner, 56.42%, Day of the Doctor. Second up is Angels Take Manhattan.
Wait, 56%?
56.42, yes. That's a huge streak compared to anyone else on the list. Day of the
I
Doctor's
know.
winning.
I just thought it had more when I looked at it before.
Second place is Angels Taking Manhattan at 12.56. People have no taste. Third is The Time of the Doctor at 8.29%. And proceeding afterwards is Asylum of the Daleks at 3.6. Rings of Cotton at 3.1. Name of the Doctor at 2.6. The Snowmen at 1.8. Dinosaurs on a Spaceship 1.7. Journey to the Center of the TARDIS, 1.6. How that high, I don't know. The Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe, 1.3. Power 3, 1.2. Nightmare in Silver, 1.2. Atomic Mercy, 0.98. Hyde, 0.97. The Crimson Horror, 0.97. The Bells of St. John, 0.8. That's awfully low. And Cold War, 0.45. Also very low.
Yeah, well, I think when somebody was voting for Journey to the Center of the TARDIS, it was the same people that was voting for Love and Monsters.
Smeg
Somebody trolling the list.
That
Anyway,
the
the final list is the Season 8. And the top of the list with 25.69% is Listen.
Yeah.
Number 2 with 14.26% is Dark Water / Death in Heaven. And who's making noise?
I'm sorry.
Stop rustling. You can hear everything of it.
The number 3 episode with 12.63% is Mummy on the Orient Express. At 10.71% is Last Christmas. Time Heist with 8.8. Flatline with 7.57. Robot of Sherwood with 5.83. Deep Breath with 5.17. Kill the Moon at 3.11. Into the Dalek at 2.37. The Caretaker at 2.5. And In the Forest of the Night with 2%.
And why do they hate those so much?
I don't know.
A lot of people
I understand
have been up in arms over the science of In the Forest of the Night.
Yeah, but it still makes more sense than
these
half the other ones
people had no
down there.
issues with Kill the Moon?
Yeah.
Moon, egg. Creature laying an egg its own size.
Eggs
That could
ate
happen.
cats as though there were no laws of entropy.
Sure, that could happen. You could also shit out your own brain.
That doesn't sound very much fun.
Well,
Intense, Matt. Jeez.
I'm
All right.
sorry, but
So
Kill
that's
the
the
Moon,
list
just
as
no.
they stand. I would really, really, really like to stress people: vote for Dark Water, Death in Heaven, so it'll overtake Listen.
Yes.
I vote for Mummy. It's still good.
I'd vote for Time Heist.
Time
And
Heist
this
also
is why
good.
we fail.
Hey, we're voting for the top 3 stories at least.
As long as everybody here voted for Human Nature, The 11th Hour.
I vote for 11th Hour. Human Nature, no. I think I voted for Turn Left.
Wrong season, but I also am in favor of that.
I voted
thought
for
that was-
Human Nature,
no,
Family and Blood.
season
I
later,
voted
yeah.
for Dalek
Yes,
as my
that's
number 1 for season 1.
Mhm.
I think I voted for School Reunion for my number 1 for series 2. Like I said, 3, I voted Human Nature. 4, I actually agreed with the populace and voted for Silence of the Library, Forest of the Dead.
Yeah,
Sorry, I like that particular episode.
I find it meh. I don't hate it, but I don't love it.
I did not vote on the specials. On 5, I voted for The 11th Hour as my number 1. 6th, I voted with the populace on The Doctor's Wife being my number 1. 7, I voted for... God, sometimes 7. Well, of course, 7, I voted for Day of the Doctor with the populace. If I didn't, I'd have to smack myself. And 8... I think I actually might have voted for... No, I voted for the finale. Anybody else want to mention what they voted for?
I think, yeah.
Or if not, we can move
I
on.
think we can go on.
We
Yeah,
can
we've
move on.
been
Yeah.
good here for a while.
Yeah.
We do that when we get to polls. Maybe we should stop posting polls.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving
All right.
on.
So next up, 50 years of Doctor Who in Australia. Monday marks the 50th anniversary of the first screening of Doctor Who in Australia, although New Zealand first saw the series in September 1964. The series didn't reach Australia until 1965. The series had been purchased from the BBC in March 1964 and initially planned for a premiere in May. However, the Australian Film Censorship Board classified the series' first 13 episodes A, meaning they were only suitable for an adult audience, thus preventing the ABC.
The show that the British created specifically for children was too adult for Australians to allow children to see at all.
Well, that's the thing about the Australian Censorship Board is I swear a bunch of, Nazis went to Australia and formed the censorship board just so they could put it up to strict totalitarian regime.
Now, granted, that said, the first 7 episodes of Doctor Who are among probably the most violent of the first Doctor era, but still.
Yeah.
Still, they're not that intense.
It's not, but I mean, it's always been an issue that the Australian Censorship Board has had this issue with everything.
Thankfully, the government is starting to say otherwise lately, but not totally.
But still, 50 years, that means that they were watching Hartnell. We didn't get Doctor Who, really, until Tom Baker.
Yep.
Yeah, all the other English-speaking nations got before us.
Yeah, that's because all the other ones are using PAL, and we were on NTFS. All right. Yeah. So, moving on. Crowdfunding campaign of the first Doctor Who convention in Germany was launched. A crowdfunding campaign on Indiegogo launched yesterday to fund the first ever Doctor Who convention held in Germany. The same time, the website to the event went online. The organizers have previously only communicated via Facebook to the fans. The event will take place on Kassel the 24th to 25th of October in 2015. Guests announced so far are Katrin Stewart, Jenny Flint, Nicola Bryant, Perry Brown, Terry Malloy, Davros, Toby Hawk, actor, comedian, podcaster for Big Finish, Jason Haley Ellery, co-executive producer of Big Finish, Terrence Dix, writer, script editor. Is he still alive?
Sweet. He's still alive and kicking.
Andrew Cartmel, writer and script editor, also known as the Cartmel Master Plan guy. Other guests include actors and producers. According to the organizers of Time Lash, which is the name of the event, there are still more guests to be added to the lineup in the coming weeks. Tickets are available on Indiegogo. Since the launch of the campaign yesterday, the convention already achieved 40% of its goal and sold 112 weekend tickets out of 500 available. The campaign on Indiegogo runs for 60 days.
By the way, this was posted on Monday.
So it's 2 days old now. My apologies.
Might be even further. Actually, I'm going to check the link right now and see. 54% now.
Yeah, so it's gained another 14% in 2 days. It's got another 56 days.
Keep
yeah,
pushing.
It's got just under 2 months to do this. It's already gotten over 50%. I think it's a go.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a go. It just takes another month or so, and the rest of it should finally slowly pile in.
And I'm envious because we can't get half these people for our con because it costs too much to fly them over the pond. Whereas, here they can take the train.
Well, we could always try Indiegogo for GeekCon. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah, except for one problem. It's still going to cost us way too much money.
You never know.
I mean, they're still doing this on getting... it's only going to cost them a few $100s at most to get these people... I'm not talking about their bonus. Their transport and housing is only going to cost them a few $100s. Like I said, you can take the Channel into France and from France into Germany.
Oh.
No big deal. Whereas we have to fly them across the entire Atlantic Ocean via jet, which is muy expensive.
Are you suggesting we build a tunnel across the Atlantic Ocean?
Yes.
Yes. Or no, a bridge.
I'm suggesting we just cram them all into a police box and
put them on a plane.
Ballista them over?
Hope they have a soft landing.
I mean, other organizations and companies manage to do this, but most of them have a big corporate funding or are, massive for-profit cons that have, multiple cons all over everywhere and can afford to do this. We can't.
Which we can afford to do for profit.
As much as I would love to, we can't.
Not yet, at least.
All right, so I believe that's all the news that's fit to print.
There's one more.
Nope.
Oh,
Well,
I'm sorry.
There's
There
two
are
things,
two
and
more.
apparently I mislabeled them in terms of the alternating hosts. But
Yeah, you did that twice, but Skype has this annoying habit of whiting it out and making it look like the end of an article, even when it's not the end of a copy and paste. So yes, there are two more pieces of news. One of which is that there is a biography planned for Anthony Ainley, the man behind the master, as it's called. Phantom Publishing has announced their plans to release this biography of Anthony Ainley, who played the master in 9 full stories during the 80s. We know him as the Camp Master. Not to mention hosting the computer game Destiny of the Doctors.
Oh, yeah.
I recently found out Destiny of the Doctors was his last Doctor Who performance, and that he was live in there. Yeah.
What's not known about Ainley that is going to be in here is that he had a prolific career which accomplished starring roles in Spider's Web and It's Dark Outside, as well as appearances in renowned dramas such as The Pulsars, Elizabeth R., Nicholas Nickleby, Upstairs, Downstairs, and cult films including Blood on Satan's Claw and The Land That Time Forgot. And the picture they're using for him, I almost would not recognize him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he actually
needs
looks
a beard.
super handsome.
Before he got a little shabby.
Oh yeah,
But,
definitely pre-Who. Which ironic that we wouldn't recognize the man who played the character known as the Master of Disguise.
Yeah, I can't see this from this particular photograph looking at him and going, wow, he's a great replacement for Roger Delgado. You're looking at him and going, we might have found the next James Bond.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one more article.
Yep, and we've got one final article, sorry.
Alright, final article. Big Finish has a few new adventures up for grabs. We've got the new adventures of Bernice Summerfield, which will be bringing back Suit Tech, the last of the Osirans. He was the villain in Pyramids of Mars, the Fourth Doctor adventure. If you guys remember.
I would argue that the villain of Pyramids of Mars is the man who left Tom Baker in the mummy suit and missed his bacon sandwich.
Left him crying.
Another new release is Doctor Who Mistfall. And then, and that is also
No Patrick yet.
out now. And Doctor Who, the Fourth Doctor by Gareth Roberts is also out.
And Gareth Roberts, for those who aren't familiar with him, is the writer of the two stories featuring Craig Owens as well as The Caretaker from Series 8.
I knew that name sounded familiar.
Not sure what to think of that.
The Caretaker wasn't that bad, but Gareth Roberts has done a little bit of stuff.
By my understanding, he had done, I think, some novels or something before New Who.
Yeah, so he has some cred. I think I've read at least one of his novels. He's a little odd. Anyway, you know how we all feel about Big Finish. If they've released it, it's probably past their quality control.
So definitely check them out, especially if you're a fan of radio dramas. Very well acted.
Usually very well acted, yes.
They're great. They're great things to listen as you're driving from A to B, if you have half an hour to kill before you go to bed, or even just as background noise in general.
And they haven't drummed any doctors out, even if they're dead.
Yeah.
Yep.
They keep finding
All
ways
right.
to bring them back.
Indeed. And that, by the way, is all the news that's fit to print for this. So, let's go ahead and move on to the summary. Who wants to do the summary? Anybody? Anybody? Bill's out because he's got a vocal problem.
Should I?
I think Tim should do it.
I
Either
need a
Tim or Matt.
soundboard with a cricket sound effect. That's what I need.
Why don't you go ahead? Why don't you go ahead and do it, Matt?
Okie doke,
Yeah.
since I practically donated myself. So, trying to keep this very basic. The Doctor is trying to take the crew to Mars, and they suddenly have a very rough landing. Upon further investigation, they figure out they're on the moon. Jamie is still very new to this, only having one previous story before this, and since his introduction with the Highlanders. And he's taken aback by the fact that they are on the moon. The Doctor opens up his chest of goodies and pulls out spacesuits for everyone, and they have a look outside. Upon asking why the boots were so heavy for the suit, the Doctor tells, not Zoe,
Polly.
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 They end the
It's
same
Ben,
way.
Polly, and Jamie are the three companions.
Yeah, Polly. The Doctor tells Polly to take a test jump, and she goes flying off. The others follow suit, but Jamie takes it a little too hardcore and ends up in a huge crater right next to a moon base. After shortly looking over and finding out where he landed, they also see people come out of the base and come in and pick up Jamie and take him inside. They quickly follow afterward and encounter the inhabitants of this base, which are mostly scientists of varying points of interest, if you will. They are running some sort of apparatus which is being aimed at the Earth, and the Doctor relatively quickly deducts that they are controlling the weather through some sort of gravity changing device. In
Or
particular,
graviton, as I believe they call it.
Yeah, they call it the graviton. They are aiming a graviton in particular right now at a tornado that could cause a huge amount of damage, and are trying to keep it stable and not in the middle of the ocean where it'll do no harm.
Tornado or hurricane? Because I thought I heard
Maybe
them
they
say
said
hurricane.
hurricane. I can't
I
remember.
only remember hurricanes, but that's not to say there weren't any tornadoes that I didn't remember.
Well, they were also worried about water levels and everything else if they threw the thing even slightly off. But as they are talking about Jamie and the fact that he needs to recover from a severe bump to the head, they realize that there's also a disease going around inside this moon base, which has already claimed 2 people, and shortly thereafter claims a third and knocks him off his feet. The Doctor then suggests that he and the crew try to help out as best they can to try and find out where this disease is coming from and how it's attacking people. To which the Doctor is starting to realize that this seems a little too specific, like there's some sort of plan behind it and not just a normal disease at all. While they're still trying to put 2 and 2 together, people have been noticing pressure drops in the oxygen, and also some of the people who came down with the disease, even when dead, started turning up missing. To which then both Polly and Jamie both see very quick glimpses of something, but then at the end of the first episode, Jamie gets a long look at it, and we see a newly updated Cyberman. Big round eyes, click open mouth, and everything. The next episode, Jamie kind of faints because he's still under the weather from his rather rough introduction to the ground in the first episode, and the Cyberman runs off with one of the other people that are still sick. It goes through a door which no one else can seem to find anything on the other side of. It seems
I
to
would
be
like
just
to
leading to
point
empty
out
room.
at this that the actual Moonbase staff are very suspicious of the Doctor, Jamie, and Polly,
Well,
thinking that there might be behind it.
they get gradually more and more paranoid. Yes.
But no, I mean that was even brought up as of the first episode. So
So, having multiple people see this, and I believe Polly in particular mentioning Cybermen, it's quickly brushed aside by the leader of the Moonbase, and they try to find out what's going on. Not only with the missing persons, but also the disease that seems to be spreading. Then shortly thereafter, what is it called again? The Gravitron? Gravitron.
Yes.
Starts acting weird because when they try to target something, it starts aiming slightly off and continues to do so. So they start to separate all the men to try and further investigate what's going on. In the meantime, Ben has been trying to do his best to keep his ears open and hearing what all is going on, even going so far as to help take care of some of the trash and then going down to the storage rooms to help one of the guys down there, who then turns out missing, and then, I believe, turns out unconscious. I can't remember for sure.
No, he just disappears.
Vanishes? Okay.
Yep. Basically, he's assigned to help Chef.
Yeah, pretty much. A couple of them
Hello there, Ben!
A couple of them are assigned chef positions, more or less. Again, all of them being scientists.
Yeah, he winds up just missing.
They continue to investigate what's going on. All of this stuff seems to kind of point towards the Doctor and the companions, as everything kind of seems to coincidentally coincide with their appearance more and more as the other people in the base look at it. It doesn't take too long before they're about ready to kick the Doctor and the others out when the Doctor suggests that they all sit down calmly and have a cup of coffee before they decide what to do. During this, one of the men suddenly reacts very negatively and passes out on the ground. He's got the disease as well. The Doctor sits down for a moment to think about it when he suddenly realizes that man had sugar in his coffee and that the leader is about to take it as well. He quickly knocks the cup out of his hand and tells him that might be the source of the disease is sugar, because not everyone is taking it all at once.
And sure enough,
the Doctor quickly discovers that it is in the sugar, and it is definitely Cyberman based, according to him. And then they decide to have further look around while also trying to figure out why all these things are malfunctioning all at the same time. To which, after a few moments, the Doctor has another conversation in the medical room. And then the Doctor asks, did anyone actually search the medical room? The leader's like, no, we figured people were always in here, so there's not much reason to search it. They very carefully have a look around. A few of the other staff members still unconscious, but then they see a table with a blanket over it with boots sticking out. The Doctor, trying to be as calm
Silvery
as possible,
boots.
the Doctor as calmly as possible, trying to usher everyone back. When the Cyberman itself obviously figured out that he's been spotted and removes the cloak and prepares to attack. Another Cyberman apparently comes out of the back door where they have been coming in and out, and they corner everyone and threaten them with violence.
They kill one. One guy tries to attack the Cyberman that was standing there and is killed by the other guy.
Getting there.
Oh, sorry, Matt.
You keep jumping in. But they threaten everyone and tell them to stay back while they continue their plans. One of the other staff managers does slip around, apparently behind one of the tables, and tries to attack them. The Cybermen very quickly kill the unarmed man, even though they could have easily subdued them on their own without much trouble. They then, in private, apparently in their UFO, are preparing a couple of the men that they have taken that were still alive, and set them up with cybernetic headpieces, and bring them into the base as well. They use these men to start taking control of the Gravitron, while the others are trying to put things together. Ben, Polly, and Jamie are still in the medical area, and they start putting a toxic mix together to try and melt their chess pieces, which will hopefully disarm and kill the Cybermen. Polly's mixture does happen to do the trick, with a little help of Ben putting together a couple of spray bottles to use it and weaponize it. They then, at the right time, happen back into the main Gravitron room and take care of the last couple Cybermen inside of the base, and disarm all the guys who have been taken over with the cybernetic head pieces and take them back to the medical area. From there, they try to stop the oncoming cyber invasion as a couple more UFOs land and launch essentially a small Cyberman army to attack the base. They are able to keep them at bay due to the Gravitron itself acting as more or less a force field against their weapons. However, the Cybermen do temporarily take it over by having the headpieces activate again and controlling one of the other men. After subduing him during a nearly fatal air release in the big dome where the Gravitron sits, they are able to stop him, tie him up, and then proceed to block off the door to the medical bay before the others can wake up and try to attack as well. The Doctor, with the help of the others, finally decides to weaponize the Gravitron and then use it to knock all the Cybermen and their ships off the moon and into deep space, more or less ending things there as the Doctor and the others slip away. The end.
Alright. So, anybody here catch what was ingredients in the poly cocktail?
A lot of stuff.
Yes.
Like, nail polish was one of the first things they were bringing up.
Nail polish remover, yeah.
Yeah,
Was it
acetone.
benzene?
Alcohol.
Benzene?
Ether and propane. Two of those, acetone and benzenes, are also known as key ingredients of something else.
The dip.
The dip. The only thing that
There's
was
a
missing
reference.
for being tip is turpentine is also used in the dip.
Turpentine isn't always readily available.
So
does
I'm
that
sitting.
Sorry, does that mean that if they're in the animated version of the show and they accidentally spell some, will the show suddenly start dissolving?
I don't know, but yes, we should actually point out to the audience that the 2 of the 4 episodes of this are still missing and was animated by.
Kind of strange that they could animate 2 of these, but not one Web of Fear, huh?
Yeah, I know. That was kind of my bitch when we did Web of Fear. Was I could do 2 of these, and this was, by the way, Planet 55. One of the key guys that have been animating stuff. They are also the ones that did Massacre on St. Bartholomew's Eve, and a bunch of other of the
Evasion coming
stuff.
soon.
I think, didn't they also do 10th Planet?
I was just about to say, I think
so,
they
yeah.
did, yeah.
They did all the Cybermen ones as far as I'm aware.
Well, I think these are the only 2
well, the
Cybermen
ones
ones
that
that
were
have been done
released,
so
yeah.
far, right?
I believe so. They have not yet touched Wheel in Space. Tomb of the Cybermen is in its completeness. And
So,
the Invasion actually was the other Cyberman one was episoded, and that was done by Cosgrove Hall, though.
Really? Because I could have sworn it was the same people as these guys.
No, I don't believe so, because the Invasion was like one of the first ones they did animated, wasn't it?
One of the early ones, yeah.
Yeah, that was done. Cosgrove Hall was the guy that did all the early animation work.
I could hardly tell the difference, to be honest. Which means that
Well,
they at
mind
least
you,
have a really
that's
good art style.
That's because all these people are doing it the same way. They're taking the telesnapped version of the episode and using those as the basis for their animation.
If they're tracing over existing footage, yes.
That's what I meant. They trace over the existing cells and use those as keyframes to do the animation.
Mm-hmm. I could tell the difference, but that's just me. Me and my art theories, yes.
Yes, she is. She is a graduated art major. Which reminds me, tell us what you thought of the animation.
I liked it better the second time around. I did not quite like it the first time because I thought that it was still, I'm used to a little bit more fluidity even in anime. They use a few more keyframes than that, and they have a little bit more tweening. And that means between, keyframes they have animation. So I'm used to a little bit more of that. I like how they used a little bit of rotoscoping, but then again, I'm a fan of rotoscoping. I'm a fan of Ralph Bakshi's rotoscoped movies, so like American Pop and Lord of the Rings, the animated movie.
Wizards.
And I felt that the animation it improved some scenes, such as the Cyber March for me, and the atmosphere. And
I noticed, if I may, I noticed while we were watching the Cyber March that they animated was actually based on a scene later on in episode 4, rather than the actual Cyber March scene that we see in the early parts of the
one scene or two were borrowed from that. Yeah.
And also with this animation, you have better defined Chiaroscuro. Chiaroscuro is a more black and white with fewer gray tones. It's harsh lighting, you would say, and that kind of really plays into the atmosphere and the overall feel. There's a lot more dread and tension in the animated portions than in the live action, I feel.
Sometimes. But then again, they also had some really intense moments during those missing episodes, too.
You have anything more to add, Aaron? Or because I want to say some things, I don't want to interrupt, though.
Yeah, it's okay. I think that's everything.
Okay. What I noticed with it was that while on one hand, I did notice that there were some scenes where it was pretty clear, like the ones that they could trace really well were really sharp, whereas other characters that they couldn't get as good of a visual on were a slightly different art style. I'm thinking this was probably animated after the 10th Planet, right? I think this was released afterward.
Yes, I believe it was.
Because I found it to be an improvement. There was less of an art style difference from character to character. Whereas in the 10th Planet, I remember we discussed that because it was sometimes pretty jarring.
Oh, yeah, that's true, yeah. Also, I think their backgrounds were a lot better in this one, too.
Well, there was probably more to draw on for this one, too. Because it's such a great landscape, the moon.
Yeah, I don't remember even the live action backgrounds in the 10th Planet being all that much.
Some areas got bland, but not all of it.
I also think this might have actually been 2 different animation studios that did this.
Oh.
Because if you look at the end of the animation stuff, it actually says PUP/P55. And I think I remember reading that that the animation for this got originally scheduled and then delayed. So I think PUP may have started it and then couldn't finish it, so that they sent it to Planet 55 to
finish the tweaking.
Finish touch. Yeah.
Possible.
But I am guessing at that. Or vice versa, I don't know. Either way, the end of the animation credits said a PUP/P55 production, so who knows? Either way, yeah, I quite enjoyed the animation on this. The Cyber March the one that they did rip off from that, I thought was a better directed scene than the original Cyber March scene.
Quite possibly. They had to make it from scratch, though, too.
Well, they based it off of that the scene later, right before they start blasting the Cybermen into space, where they're spreading out to look like they're surrounding the Moonbase. And you have the cyber leader standing out in the middle of them, raising his arms. Because I noticed the exact same scene, and I'm going, oh, that's where they got it.
Well, yeah, that was the only thing that was borrowed, though. Otherwise, a number of those bits from the March were also from the very beginning of the episode, too, which would have been a recap of the previous episode.
Did you notice that the scenes of the cyber controller in there, flipping switches, had oversized... it looked like he was in the original cyber suit, because he had the oversized wiffle ball joints. They were like the size of a fist, whereas the ones that you saw in the scenes, the short ones, they were like golf ball sized.
I think it might have been just
And
that we
painted
were
black.
closer. Oh, yeah, they were playing in black. I've noticed that, yeah. So there's little signs.
Anyway, let's get on to our good, the bad, the ugly. So, what in general did you like about the episode? Let's see where I'm going with this.
Alright.
Looks like Matt, you're number one on the list.
What I liked about this, I liked the absolute menace and sheer the thing-esque terror that these people seem to suffer from this very claustrophobic tiny space, as they suddenly also realize they're being cornered by something that they don't know right off the bat.
All right. Tim, what in general did you like about the episode?
In general, I liked the performances of the Doctor, Patrick Troughton, as always, and also the other guy who was in charge of the Moonbase. It seemed like he had the potential to be like an annoying, obstructive bureaucrat, but he thankfully sidestepped that pitfall. So I think that was very commendable.
Yeah, apparently he and Troughton were old friends.
I was just gonna bring that up too.
Yeah, I watched that same special, Matt. It was on the DVD.
Yeah.
Apparently, that actor is also one of the few people that can actually get Patrick Troughton to tone it down.
Mm-hmm.
As
Which
he's
really helped
he
with this episode.
Yeah, considering this episode is kind of grimdark, it helped that you didn't have Patrick Troughton being a comedic genius in this.
Well, he had comedic moments, but he wasn't having it too hard.
Right. Bill, what in general did you like about the episode?
I'm kind of surprised that nobody took my favorite thing about this episode, and that is the music.
Oh, yeah.
The score they used for the Cybermen is excellent. It really
and that score
perfectly
would
sets the mood in this episode.
I believe that becomes the cyber theme for the entire Second Doctor era, because I know it's used again in Tomb.
I know one of the music cues that they used for this also got used a lot in some of the lower budget Universal movies as well.
Okay. All
Which is
right,
a funny
Aaron.
little
Yeah, if you have a monster movie and they're playing Cyberman theme, I could see being afraid of that.
Well, I had problems with it because Web of Fear, they used the same music thing, so I kept expecting Cybermen.
Ah.
All right, Aaron, what did you like about the episode in general?
I actually kind of liked the sets. I felt that they were they were simple, but fairly convincing. The laboratory that the Doctor was working in, well, it was small. Like I said, Matt said, it was kind of claustrophobic as well. But everything seemed to work pretty well. And also I liked the gravitron room, where they controlled the gravitron, where it had the pulses going, and they had to be careful about wearing the helmets and stuff, otherwise they'd be driven insane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I
but
thought
episode
it was
4
pretty good.
was in one of the biggest studios the BBC had at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, they had all these sets set up on it simultaneously.
It did to me. It felt like it was a moon base,
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, episode 4 they had to go back to Lime Grove, which kind of shrunk everything down. But you really couldn't tell. Which
You
was the
couldn't
good part.
tell, no.
Yeah.
Lime Grove is the studio that everybody hated to work at. It's the one that things tended to overheat a lot and turn on the fire alarms and that kind of thing.
But to some actors, it's still home.
Anyway, that's what we liked in general. What didn't we like in general? We'll start again with Matt.
Ooh. As good as they were at the time, you could still see through some of the costuming. You can the Cybermen a little bit less, but some of the moon suits especially. And I know it's hard to try and do that 2 years before we actually had astronauts in space, but you could still kind of tell.
Yeah, they weren't thick enough.
Also,
They had
their
those-
bobbleheads would very easily steam up, so it
Yep.
kind of got ridiculous at that point.
Not to mention there wasn't really a lot of solar protection on those. You would have burned your face.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Tim, what didn't you like in general?
In general, I didn't like how some of the things that, of this, I think, was the incompetence of our heroes allowed the Cybermen to get farther than they should have.
How so?
That idea that
Are we about to lose?
it's the.
Tim, you're breaking up pretty bad.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah. Tim?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were saying?
Yes, you were saying.
Okay. I was saying, it seems that our heroes at times were a bit too incompetent. Incompetent for my taste. As in, they never thought to look in the hospital room, or that they never thought to check the food supply.
Well, they did think
Well,
of it,
until
but
the
they didn't know
doctor,
what to
served
look
them.
for.
Well, you got to remember that none of the
Coffee.
people that were dealing with the plague were medical people, because their doctor was the first one to come down with it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you
food-
say our heroes, are you referring to the hapless morons that the Doctor stumbled across, or are you talking about the TARDIS crew?
The hapless morons.
Okay,
Okay.
That's what I was like, the people
Morons.
that I
Yeah,
expected
so
to
on that,
figure
yeah.
things out, figured things out. The people they stumbled across were incompetent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, they were scientists,
But-
but
well,
they were
okay.
not.
If I can
Investigated.
add my own thing about how incompetent they were.
Yeah.
I'm in charge of an installation, and this guy that I suspect is giving my people coffee. He hands one of them coffee. He takes a sip. A guy keels over, sick. I'm going to take a cup of coffee from him and drink it without suspecting a thing. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, like things
You
like
don't
that.
you don't suspect
And
poison
also
at that point?
the thing when
We searched
when
every
the
inch of
doctor was
this.
going
Yeah.
around taking people's shoes off them, and the guy said, "What are you doing?" "I'm collecting specimens." "Oh, well, carry on then." You know, it's like, oh, it's that simple.
That's actually kind of a very British thing to do, though. The
It was
doctor's
also
under
a
orders
typical
to
Second
collect
Doctor
samples
moment.
and find the cure. He's kind of like, he didn't expect it to happen this way, but he's not about to go against things, so he just gets all stiff-necked and go, carry on then.
Mm.
And try to look dignified while he's doing it. It's very British.
Mhm. Very British,
Okay,
yes.
Bill, is that also part of your beef with it, or did you have a separate
No,
one?
my complaint is actually going to be on and actually, ironically, the TARDIS crew is specifically Ben and Polly in the first half of this episode. Ben's role is to realize that the cast is too big and get so lost in the cast that I started to wonder if he got sick too, until he showed back up and became part of the plot again. Polly's role was to scream when no one needed her to, and then when it was important to scream, not to.
Oh, and Sponge Jamie.
Luckily, in episode 3, they kind of stepped their game up.
Mm.
Because I was really sitting there like, are you fucking serious, guys?
Her job was also to sponge Jamie, so he looks sweaty for his big scene in the second episode.
And Fraser Hines was getting paid for that.
Mm-hmm. And he enjoyed every minute.
and to touch an infected man on the forehead with her bare
And across
hand.
the face, and with her bare skin. Yeah, that's like, dumb.
Even after the doctor tells her not to touch him.
Yeah.
Dumb.
Which is messed up because Polly is usually supposed to be at least the relatively smart one, but not today.
Not today.
Apparently not.
Oops.
Let's take these random chemicals and mix them all together and see what happens.
Something that
Yeah,
will
I'm kind
remove
of
your
surprised
face.
they didn't result in an explosion, honestly.
Yeah.
Of course, I don't know
I'm
that
sure
much
there were
about-
at least 3 flammable items in that container.
Okay. Aaron, in general, what didn't you like?
I have to think. Overall,
Yeah, in general.
I guess I didn't like. I didn't like really the brain-controlled guys. To be honest, the goons, the non-Cybermen goons, or not
the
quite
headset
fully
guys? Yeah.
cybernetic goons. I mean, yeah, it was cool. It would have been interesting. I understand they need like something to be in between Cybermen and human to like kind of connect everything. But it was just kind of, I don't know. Maybe it would have been more compelling if someone wanted to be in that situation. Kinda weird,
RTD
like
must
they
have
got
loved
sick.
that scene.
Yeah, like if they saw that they got sick and then they saw the Cybermen, they're like, hey, I'm sick. Maybe if I become a Cyberman, I won't be sick anymore, and I'll be awesome and powerful. And then have someone like more willingly help them out. That's kind of what I thought Evans was kind of doing a little bit, but they didn't go far enough with it, in my opinion.
Mm.
And then maybe have another one like fight it and turn on them and like try to fight the Cybermen. Did they? I don't think that happened
No.
at all. Yeah, they could have done a little bit more with them, in my opinion.
I don't think a partially converted person fights the cyber programming until Nightmare in Silver, honestly.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Oh,
Tomb.
no. What's that?
Tomb.
Doomsday.
Tomb had partially converted
Oh.
people?
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember
And
that, but
it
I
was
still need to
also
rewatch
it was also done in Attack of the Cybermen.
Ah.
Poor Lytton.
Poor Lytton.
Anyway,
deserve that.
the thing I didn't like about this episode, and this you'll hear more about during Tomb of the Cybermen, is the cyber voice being used.
It was really hard to understand, that's for sure.
Well, I
It's
know
hard to
in certain
parts.
scenes, anyway.
Yeah.
the thing about the cyber voice from 10th Planet is it was unique, and it was interesting. This particular voice, I know how they got the effect. What they were using is what's called a cancer box.
Yeah.
It is the vocalizer that they give to people who have had throat cancer or have had their throat damaged by some accident. So the entire time the Cybermen are speaking, all I can think of is Ned from South Park going, and they're coming right at us,
Well, I always think the one guy
Yeah.
from Mad Max, but that's
That
me.
too. I can see the interceptor. Yeah, it's the same voice
Better
box.
rip 'em.
It's
Which honestly would make more sense for something like Spare Parts than for Cybermen after they've completed a conversion process.
A little bit.
I mean, eventually they will get their own cyber voices. The 80s cyber voice was pretty good,
Oh, yeah.
even if you have to put up with David Banks' cheese.
I can put up with that cheese.
And like I said, I love the 10th Planet voices as well because they're unique with their tone
Yeah.
and pacing.
That, and they're really good at setting a creepy mood because they're very Uncanny Valley.
When they're
Yeah.
done right, yeah.
So it's, for me, listening to this is kind of like, ugh. And I believe this voice comes back for Tomb. I can't say if it comes back in the Invasion or not.
It does
Matt,
come back for Tomb. I don't know about Wheel yet.
Yeah, I don't know about Wheel either.
I think... I'm not sure about Wheel, but the Invasion, they had something a little more clear. For
Okay.
sure.
All right. Well, then we'll discuss it with Wheel at that. But this will be a recurring gripe about me with Tomb as well. All right. So, what scene did you particularly like, Matt?
Oh, which one to go with? So many good scenes in this one. Like picking children. And there is actually really a lot of good stuff.
And of course, this is the point that you'll say something that will piss off one of the other people on the podcast.
Probably will.
But we're aware of this.
But you know what? We've mentioned it before, and I'll mention it again. The Cyber March.
God damn it, Matt.
No, that was all I could come up with.
Oh, come on, there's plenty of other good scenes. Pick one.
Yep.
All right, Tim, you're next. What's your favorite scene?
My favorite scene is when they're all bouncing on the moon. Or no, not. I mean, when the Cybermen are bouncing on the moon, like when they turn off the gravity and they the Cybermen start floating off.
When they turn the Gavatron on them, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Every time someone says that, it sounds closer and closer to Galvatron. I'm waiting for someone to turn Galvatron on the Cybermen.
And thus fan fiction was born.
Yes.
All right, Bill, yours was taken. What's your favorite scene other than the one that Matt mentioned?
I'm trying to come up with another one, honestly. Like, there are scenes that are okay, but like that's what really stands out to me. I'm really not sure if I have anything else that I would put up there as a really good scene. The scene where Jamie is yelling at the Cybermen, you can't take me away, Piper, is an interesting one at the very least.
Mm-hmm.
Although I kind of wonder why the Cyberman has no problem with him standing there yelling at him. But in terms of mood, it's a very good scene, even if it's a little doesn't make perfect sense.
All right. Aaron?
My favorite scene would be the speech.
Oh, yes.
The speech
Oh,
where he
God
sits
damn
there.
you, Aaron.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. I said there was
Evil
nothing else.
must
Yeah, I
be
forgot about
fought
that.
line. It's
Yes.
the evil must be fought.
Oh, God damn it, Aaron, that was mine.
I'm sorry.
People should know that epic speeches said by the Doctor are always my favorite scenes. I have a list of epic speeches sitting on YouTube that I listen to constantly. Most of them done by Matt Smith, but a few done by Tennant.
I have a playlist of them done by the wrong Doctor.
Yeah, I've listened to a few of those too. The Pandorica speech done by Tom Baker is great.
Oh, I haven't heard that one yet. Should go find that one now.
I don't know if it's done by Tom Baker or one of those guys that's really good at imitating Tom Baker.
Dead
but either way.
Ruiners.
I know there's a guy that's done David Tennant and a guy that's done William Hartnell of a bunch of Matt Smith speeches.
But yeah, that would have been my favorite. So I guess I'm going to have to go with the first appearance of the first real big appearance of a Cyberman. In there, the big reveal where it's,
The cliffhanger, or?
The cliffhanger?
Yeah, the cliffhanger at the end of episode 1.
Just before Bill's mention, yeah.
Yep.
Did Tim list one?
Yes.
Yes.
I think he did,
I did.
yeah.
The bouncing on the moon.
Mm-hmm. Bouncing
Okay,
Cybermen.
so what is your least favorite scene? What scene made your eyes roll? Made you go, oh, come on. Made you go, oh, I need to go get a sandwich. Matt.
Ooh, bad. Try to handpick one. I honestly can't think of one off the top of my head. Come back to me if I come up with something.
All right. Tim.
All right, it's the scene where it pans across the people all at their stations, and then that guy, the infected guy, turns around and he just walks into the Gavatron room, and I'm like, he's right there. No one's noticing this, He's
I forgot about that.
This it's not like this is like a big place, It's like you're all close together, It's like. And then he causes that ship to crash into the sun, and is like, what's going on? Perhaps it's that, you've gone over how potentially dangerous this is. You'd think you'd take more precautions at this point.
Yeah, I know. I'm watching that same scene, and I'm looking at him as he turns around and goes, this is like, dude, you mean all these people in here and nobody's noticing that one of the guys in there looks like a frickin' juggalo? That's guys that are fans of Insane Clown Posse because of the lines and shit.
Yep.
Nobody got that? All right.
I
Not
got
a
it.
big fan
I
of
know
it.
what a juggalo is. I
got
don't
it.
know what they look like. I don't pay that
They
kind of
use
attention to
clown
juggalos.
makeup. They use clown
True.
makeup.
Mm.
I was just commenting it because he looked so like circus freaky with the lines and the frickin' thing on his head. That it was like, that's like freaking obvious. And yet everybody is completely ignoring it because of plot. Okay, Bill, what was your least favorite scene?
Mine, I kind of brought this up earlier as part of the bigger overall thing. But the first time Polly and Jamie are alone with a Cyberman, and she's been screaming and annoying the shit out of me the entire episode, and finally there's a good reason for her to scream so that the doctor can running in, and she just can't even scream because she's just that incompetent in this episode. And she just stands there and stares at the Cyberman and doesn't scream, and doesn't speak, and just is there, and it's so annoying.
On the other hand, Bill, Polly isn't Victoria, who's, screaming.
No, but she's been screaming the entire episode for no reason. So at least this time there's a reason for her to scream.
Oh, I finally have one.
Alright,
Okay,
we can
Matt.
reverse the polarity of the neutron flow.
I finally have one. The point when the Cybermen reveal how they've been getting in and out of the vase, and they just sit there constantly repeating, clever, clever. No, this idea could have easily backfired and killed everybody.
Yeah.
Not clever. All they
Yeah,
did was
and
put
they
groceries
show-
in front of a hole.
And plan only stupid human. Yeah, I'm like, wow.
Stupid human. Your
No,
simple mind.
the
Stupid.
stu-
Stupid.
That's what we should have thought of for the opening of this, by the way. But yeah, the stupid human
should
brains
have.
thing didn't bother me quite as much as the ending the scene with the just chanting clever.
Yeah, the clever part is where I'm just like, no, not clever, and you're
Like-
repeating yourself, which is
Right.
even less clever.
Like that's something like I could see the doctor mocking someone like that, not a Cyberman.
All right, Aaron, what scene made you groan?
Thinking.
Yeah. Thinking. There were a few of them. I think the biggest one was the how can you not see the Cybermen in the medical center? Did someone already take that one?
Not
No.
yet.
Nope.
How can you not see the Cyberman sitting on the table with his boots sticking out from underneath the blanket?
The hide and seek scene.
Yes, exactly.
I will say that it's stupid that they didn't see him sooner,
It
but
was
the aftermath of
definitely
actually
silly.
discovering him was really good, in my opinion. But again, that's splitting the scene in half, more or less.
It's like how many people are in this medical room? I don't know. Who the hell is keeping track of the personnel on this base? We don't notice an extra body there that doesn't look like any of the others.
Look at those boots. One of these isn't like the others. One of these here just doesn't belong.
Okay, I think my least favorite scene was the explosive decompression scene.
They tried. They're not
They
going to get it
tried.
perfect, but they tried.
Yeah, they tried. It just really, first of all, if somebody punched a hole in their dome, the wind roaring through there would have been a hell of a lot stronger.
Well, it was pulling a couple of them towards the hole.
That's
And-
something that shows
But only
like
a
Doctor
couple of
Who
them.
take a lot of creative liberty with anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
They probably only knew very basic stuff at the time. Again, no one had even reached
Yeah, I
space yet
know.
at this
But
point.
then they tried to plug it by stuffing a rag in it.
Well,
it-
the
I-
jacket.
I just mean like if they didn't take liberties with things like that, shows like Star Trek and Doctor Who and a whole lot of other shows would have ended a lot quicker than they did due to the entire cast dying.
Yeah, it's not that so much, Bill. It was how they drug it out with the whole rag thing. I was literally expecting that thing to implode and somebody having to stick their ass into the thing to plug it.
Was this Family Guy?
I've actually seen that on other shows too, so might have been Ren and Stimpy. I don't know.
Maybe we should push the alien through it. Oh wait.
Either way, but it just kind of hit me as that level of cheese, that level of cornball cheese. All right, so that's our good. That's our good, bad, what we like, we didn't like. Anybody else have any additional comments on it? We talked a little bit on the changes in the Cybermen. Let's talk a little more on that.
Yeah.
Yes. Apparently, according to the show that Matt and I saw, one of the key issues with the other cyber suits is they, first of all, they were very sweaty to work in.
Smelled like ass in and out of the suits.
And came apart really easily when they did stuff, which, of course, would make them have to stop and re-sew and everything. These suits were not that great of an improvement, because apparently there were little studs and bolts all over the place that tended to dig into your face and other areas.
But while that did happen, the suits did fall apart a lot less often.
True. What did you think of how they looked visually different from the 10th Planet versions? In general, not just you, Matt, everybody.
I was thinking of this a little bit more while I was watching it, but I didn't really write down any thoughts on that. I seem to remember just thinking of it that, like, they look similar enough that I think you could probably recognize them. But then again, there is the fact that there's a lot, like, we're already used to thinking of Cybermen as metal, whereas kids in the 60s would not have had, Cybermen having more metal than plastic on their mind at all. They would have been thinking of them as mostly plastic and cloth, so they might have been a little more thrown off.
I think in general, Cybermen, until they start going chrome, were more or less mostly plastic.
It's worth noting at this point, by the way, that the Cybermen's first appearance had been probably, 3 months or 4 months before this?
Yes.
Actually, it was mentioned in the special.
Very fresh in the minds of the audience.
It was mentioned in the special that the 10th Planet came out in November. They were already filming this by February.
This was in the can by the end of February. Which means that was 3 months turnaround. One thing that we know is the fact that Kit Pedler, when he wrote 10th Planet and was creating the new villain, the Cybermen, was really rolling dice on whether they would become a recurring villain or not. And the fact that somewhere during the November airing, they tested very well with the audience, and children loved slumbering as Cybermen on the playground.
Because it's easier to do that than Daleks.
Yeah.
Where they just had to hold out their arms and chant. The Cybermen actually gave them a Michael Myers to try and impersonate.
And so
he must have wrote those first 3 stories pretty much back to back.
Just about.
Well, he was kind of a on-staff writer for Doctor Who at the time.
So it was easy enough for him to do. Since
well,
it was
interesting.
his baby.
The first 3 Cybermen stories are the only Doctor Who stories credited to him.
But I think
he was okay. He also went. I guess he went on to Doomwatch from there.
Oh.
Anyway, so yeah, he probably was writing this one right after he finished 10th Planet.
Yeah.
And we did mention
which makes sense. It is in some ways a sequel. This is, I mean, the human characters already know about Cybermen. They just think that they're all gone, etc.
Which is a recurring theme, by the way, because if you remember Nightmare and Silver, they thought the same thing.
Yeah.
But then it was another year between that and Tomb. But the fact is that he must have been writing this episode not knowing if it would ever actually get produced. Because if the Cybermen if 10th Planet had failed as an episode, he wouldn't have gotten this one to go through the producer at the time.
It's also worth noting the 10th Planet was remarkable because that was the most of any single monster that you ever saw on screen at one time, rather than one costume being used, with creative editing to play 3 or 4. There were actually something like 6 Cybermen on screen at once. in the Moonbase, I'm pretty sure we get, 8 or 10 Cybermen on
At
screen
least
at the
10.
same time?
I think probably even more than that. I think they actually
possibly
might have
a
had
dozen.
12 or more.
And that's kind of the thing about the Cybermen. That's what makes them scary, is their numbers.
Whereas
they could afford a lot
Daleks,
more
I don't
numbers.
think you really got that many Daleks on screen, not counting things like toys and cardboard cutouts, until probably the Davies era.
Or they could just use CGI copying, yeah.
I don't think in the 80s you really got that many Daleks on the screen at once.
You might have during Remembrance, when you had, Dalek on Dalek action.
But even then, there was a lot of smoke and things obscuring it. So I still think it was probably more like 2 or 3 Daleks on screen at the time.
No, I'm pretty sure they had 6 by Sylvester McCoy's era, at least 6, if not up to 10.
It's hard to tell. I would have to actually go through and do a count.
Yeah.
But here, you do see a good number of Cybermen on there, and I think that would be the most you'd see until the invasion. Where you'd see them all marching down the square, yeah.
Yeah,
well,
I think
even
Invasion
in
they
Tomb,
showed
you have that
still
one
somewhere
scene
around
of
15.
It's something like 8 or 9 Cybermen coming from their tombs at a time.
But yeah, that's one of the things. And of course, they always were revising the Cybermen. I think their headpiece was smaller in this one.
A little bit.
They revised the chest unit a little.
I'm thinking they got their teardrop for the first time this time. Am I right?
Nope.
No.
No.
Nope.
Was
Not
that
for
the
another
Invasion?
version. That'll be the next one, and then the Invasion. Yeah, this one was just to circle our eyes.
Oh, so the tears actually were only in 2 stories prior to the Davies era then.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they were very...
I didn't realize that.
They were very classic.
They're very classic.
They were very much in the
pretty
public
quick.
consciousness, but not as much on screen.
Because the Invasion was kind of the definitive cyber episode. And by the way, Patrick
those
Troughton
suits got used one more time.
Patrick Troughton is the doctor that has fought the Cybermen the most times out of any other doctor.
Yes.
Yes.
Hartnell got him once, and that was his final episode, The 10th Planet. Troughton has this one, Tomb, Wheel in Space, and The Invasion, making a appearance of 4 Cybermen, not including the 5 doctors, which I'm throwing out for just...
It's 5th Doctor era anyway.
If you're counting, if you're counting Pandorica and Name, Matt Smith is up there with him. But there's like 1 Cyberman at a time versus an entire army.
It's not
Right.
a standalone Cyberman, yeah.
Like they're memorable single Cybermen, but they're not an entire group of Cybermen.
And it's not just solo Cybermen.
Matt Smith, technically, I'm counting for Matt Smith. I'm counting Nightmare and Silver, and the Closing Time, the sequel to The Lodger.
Yeah.
Which I believe was his only really one where the Cybermen were the focus villain, and not part of an ensemble.
And Tennant had 3 that I don't think he had a 4th.
He had Rise of the Cybermen, Age of Steel, which I'm counting as 1 because it's 1
story. Yeah,
that's
1.
Army of Ghosts, Doomsday.
And
then he had The Next Doctor.
Yeah.
And of course, Army of Ghosts, Doomsday did have its own sequel, but the Doctor was not involved in that.
Yeah.
Right.
It was also very silly.
Let's not go to Torchwood. It's a silly place.
No, we'll go to Torchwood. We'll just go to Torchwood later. Anyway.
I will say that
this makes the Cybermen the thing that Patrick Troughton fought the most out of anything.
Yeah.
So they were his definitive nemesis, which is interesting because he absolutely hated playing against the Cybermen.
Or at least for the first couple serials, yeah.
Did he really?
Apparently for the first couple of them, yes.
Why is that? Did he say why?
I think that was just so clunky to make them work, I would assume.
They're so clunky. There's no way to really gauge the emotional response, so to speak. Of course, they have no emotions, but that just kind of makes them hard to act against.
See, I'm like, that's the whole point. They're giving you that emotionless face no matter
I'm not
how
talking
you
about,
act against them.
Yeah, but that's the problem, is that some people, when they act, they gauge the emotional response of the person they're acting against to determine their own emotional response. So Troughton was kind of fished out of water a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I will say, comparing
I think he
this...
got used to it, but...
Like,
Yeah.
I feel like a good villain should really be stone-faced against the hero's acting more often than not. Maybe
Yeah,
that's just... But
maybe that's just you. I mean, a good villain also should
then
have...
again, I grew up on Darth Vader, and Troughton did not, so...
Yeah, Darth Vader wasn't around yet. Darth Vader didn't come around till Tom Baker was in charge, and he went and saw that movie and left and went, no way, we're making a Doctor Who movie now.
Yeah.
Tom Baker was in charge? Is that intentionally how you intended to say
Of a
that?
Doctor Who movie.
No, he had been writing with the
I
guy
know
that
that
played Harry Sullivan on making a Doctor Who movie called Doctor Who Meets Scratchman. And the second they walked out of Star Wars, they pretty much just threw the script in the trash.
I mean, when you said Tom Baker in charge, I was like, oh, you mean in his role as not quite the producer?
I just meant he wasn't the Doctor. It
Gotcha.
was Tom Baker that was the Doctor when Darth Vader first came on our screens.
Right.
And the second time Darth Vader came on our screens.
Yeah.
And I think possibly, it was 83.
No, not the third. That would have been Davison.
Yeah, I know. I just couldn't remember if it was 82 or 83 that Jedi came out, but then I corrected myself and realized it was 83.
Gotcha.
Because it was right on that border.
Tom Baker was the Doctor through the Christmas special, though. Holiday special.
I don't know if it was true for that year or if it was the year before. Anyway. It is pretty much close to the end of this, so let's start going into our final thoughts. Starting with Matt.
Now, okay, to see what I was trying to say like 5 times is that comparing this outfit to the originals, there are some good things and some bad things. Yes, it was more painful for the actors inside, or just about as painful. However, I think that some of the things were definite improvements, although in particular the headpiece was starting to get closer to what we know. It still was a little bit wonky because I noticed there's a couple times where the head couldn't turn like it should. Aside from that, good music, some very good, nice, tight, claustrophobic sets. Good acting for everyone who actually got to have enough time in the limelight to be worthy of acting. I noticed there's a few crew members that, for the science group, that didn't really get much camera time at all, to be honest. They were technically red shirts anyway. Overall, I thought this was pretty good.
Alright. Tim?
This was an okay story that could have been better if some of the things I mentioned were dealt with more better. I kept, when I trying to imagine, what if the live action, the people moved like they did when they were animated, which was kind of fun to do. I did like the animated parts because it reminded me of the Marvel superheroes cartoons.
Okay.
He's talking about like the really old ones, like the 60s.
Yeah, when Captain America throws his mighty shield.
It is a little retro-esque. They're still being touchy-feely with Flash animation at this early stage of it.
Alright. So, is that everything you have to say, Tim?
Yep.
Alright. Bill.
There's a lot of really strong points about this episode. One of my major complaints about Cybermen episodes has been how many of them completely ignore the unique aspects of Cybermen, such as the conversion. The Moonbase does capitalize on that. It does a very good job at setting the tone. It also has a lot of foolish blunders in terms of characters used improperly, characters just not being intelligent at all, and similar things, which almost balance out the good. Ultimately, I'd say it's above an average story, but it has too many flaws to keep it from really living up to its full potential.
All right, is that everything?
Yeah.
Aaron.
I like this one well enough. It's not one of my favorites, but I enjoyed the it has an atmosphere to it that's kind of similar to Web of Fear. Though it's not quite as good as Web of Fear. I like the atmosphere. I love the animation came off pretty good at dramatizing certain moments and adding to the sense of dread. And the level of suspense keeps building and building and building until the final reveal of the Cybermen. I felt that was pretty good. And I felt that even though Patrick Troughton was being kind of held back by the director, we watched the short special on the making of the episode, and apparently the director did not want him to be overly goofy in this one. He wanted to play him a little bit more straight. I felt that the doctor was still able to shine through the personality of the clown and everything too in the end.
All right, that everything?
Mm-hmm.
Am I the only one who didn't watch any making of featurettes? I feel left out.
I had the DVD, so it was on
it's
the
on
DVD.
YouTube.
Anyway, this is pretty much one of the earliest, if not the earliest, Base Under Siege episodes. The only other one that would possibly
it's the titular
qualify.
Base Under Siege.
The only other one that would possibly qualify would have been Power of the Daleks, and I can't remember if that actually would have been considered a base under siege or not.
They were taking over, and there's a big shootout, sort of.
This is the story that names its location a base, and specifically states in the story that it's under siege.
Which would basically become the Troughton staple of pretty much the next 3 years. Like, I'd say a good 75% of his episodes were based under siege.
Mm-hmm.
But still, this is one of the earliest ones. I do feel that it was a little bit hurried in its writing. Probably, like we said, it had a 3-month turnaround between 10th Planet and this, so he probably was really in a hurry to crank it out.
Also adding Jamie at the last minute.
I was not even getting into that yet, Matt. Which really kind of detrimented to some of the characters, like you said, not playing as smart as they should have been, or playing it cliche. The cliche of not looking in the one area, that kind of thing. That does weaken the episode to an extent, but still it has some very strong acting. And it had to go through an emergency rewrite with Jamie being added. And apparently, Kit Pedler was not fond of having a 18th century man on 21st century space station, and was very blunt with basically writing him unconscious. And that's more of a writer detriment than anything else. I would say that this was a mediocrely to partially half-ass written episode that was directed and acted and set designed very, very well. So we now go to ratings. And as usual, we are going to start with the person that gave their review first, so that would be Matt.
I think I will go a 4. Not perfect, but it was definitely getting close.
All right. And now Tim?
I'm gonna have to give this a 3.5. It wasn't terrible, but some of the things just bring it down for me.
All right. Bill?
I'm going to agree with Tim in 3.5. There's just enough flaws that it brings the good things down to being at that level.
All right. Aaron?
I'm going to be 3.5 as well, for pretty much the same reasons. Enjoyable, but has its flaws.
I'm actually going to give it a 4, but I'm giving it a 4 based solely on the acting merits of the characters involved, both the main and supporting cast. Otherwise, it would be in 3.5 range.
Yeah.
But I believe that Troughton's acting, as well as the head of the Moonbase,
and other little touches,
were strong enough to give it that extra half, in my opinion. So that will average the episode out to a 3.7.
Above average.
Above average, not that far above average. And that should do it for our coverage of this episode. If you enjoyed our time with us, you can follow our streams at twitch.tv/madmat2885. Subscribe to our uploads at MadMat Inc.'s One YouTube channel or on Mixcloud, or follow us on Twitter and Facebook. You can also pledge to our Patreon at patreon.com/unearthlypodcast for your choice of rewards. And, of course, don't forget to join us next week as we go to the next Cybermen episode on the list, which we have brought up a few times during the course of this podcast, Tomb of the Cybermen, also written by Kit Pedler and Jerry Davis.
See you all next time.